Welcome, everyone. We have people trickling on in. I see Adria, Caleb, Cassandra, Jessica, Conrad, Leonardo, welcome. We're going to give it a little bit of time because we have a pretty strong group coming in for this evening or this afternoon, depending on what time zone you're in this webinar. But we're just really thrilled that you're going to spend some time with us this evening. So welcome. Thanks for being here. As a heads up, I just want to make sure that you all know that this webinar is being recorded because we are going to email it out to all of you as well as everyone who was invited that couldn't make it here today. We'll give it another couple of moments. Okay, and I think we will go ahead and get started. Good evening, everyone. My name is Maura Poe. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a senior associate director in the Office of Undergraduate Admissions here at Yale, and I help manage our QuestBridge process. This evening is meant to give you an introduction to QuestBridge on Yale's campus a little bit, but really campus life. And I'm joined by four incredible members of our Quest Scholars Network board. I'm going to ask them each to introduce themselves, where they claim home, maybe their major, and then I'll bring them back in a little bit for a student experience panel. So let's start with Nicole.
Hi everyone, so glad to be with you tonight. I come from Plano, Texas, and right now I'm debating majoring between HSHM and film.
Great. And Fatima.
Yeah, hi everyone. Fatima, pronouns she, her, and I am a junior in one of the residential colleges called Jonathan Edwards. My current major is computing and the arts, and my focus with the arts is architecture. It's one of the wonderful sweet spot majors here at Yale. And I am originally from California, Fontana, San Bernardino County. So West Coast, best coast. If anyone's here from the West Coast, yeah, that's the place to be from.
Thank you. Hang.
Hi everyone, my name is Hang. I'm a sophomore, class of 2026 at Yale, and I'm planning to major in mechanical engineering. Where I claim home is Brooklyn, New York, so it's 2 hours away from Yale, so very close. So that's basically it about me. Yeah.
And Hang, I don't know if you saw that facial expression because perhaps I'm also from Brooklyn, New York. So we'll talk more about that later.
Awesome. Okay.
And Aqua.
Hey y'all, I'm Aqua. I use he, him pronouns. I'm originally from a small town in South Florida called Hope Sound, but now I'm actually a permanent resident of New Haven. I'm a senior and I'm an art major.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So our Quest Scholars Network board members will join us in a little bit, but let me go over what the next hour is going to look like for all of us. So we just did some brief introductions, and for the next, say, 15 minutes or so, I'm going to do a brief overview of Yale and QuestBridge. We've been a QuestBridge partner since 2007, and I always love to talk a little bit about the program. Then we'll have a panel with our Quest Scholars. Some of you have pre-submitted questions. Some of you have sent in some questions. I have a few kickoff questions, but I want to make sure that we're able to answer as many of them as possible during our time together. Some of you may have noticed already that there is a Q&A box available to you. As we are going through the panel, feel free to ask questions in there. I'm joined by two incredible colleagues from the admissions office, Alfie and Danielle, who will be helping answering as many questions fast and furiously as possible. And what I will say also is this is meant just to be kind of an overview for you. This is meant to be an opportunity for you to learn a little bit more about QuestBridge. So some of you might be very familiar with QuestBridge. Some of you might not be as familiar. So I want to make sure we first ground ourselves in what QuestBridge is. QuestBridge is a national nonprofit organization that connects the nation's exceptional students from lower income backgrounds with leading colleges and opportunities. The QuestBridge application can be a really useful option for students from low income backgrounds to apply to, at this point, 50 different partner colleges and universities. And in using the QuestBridge application through the National College Match, students can ensure that they are getting the most robust financial aid possible at one of these 50 institutions. Thinking about these 50 institutions, in thinking about the QuestBridge program itself, there are two main parts of QuestBridge that I want to make sure you're all aware of. The first is the College Prep Scholars Program. Any high school junior attending high school in the U.S. can apply to be a college prep scholar. And the college prep scholars, the requirements are you need to have a annual family income of $75,000 or less. And this program affords students with a bunch of college readiness opportunities. That might include everything from college essay feedback sessions, guidance resources. It can even include funding to some summer conferences. If any of you attended the QuestBridge conference at Emory University in Georgia this past summer, I was there and able to present on a couple of different topics for you. I see QuestBridge as a great way to get to learn about 50 different partner institutions. That said, know that it's one of 3 different application options to Yale, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. The larger program that QuestBridge facilitates is the National College Match, and this is for seniors who are applying to college. The National College Match is exactly what it sounds like. It's an opportunity for QuestBridge finalists to match with one of 50 institutions. The QuestBridge application is designed to give students additional space to tell their unique story while they've been academically excelling in their high schools. The thing about the QuestBridge match application, the thing to know is that, one, the deadline is coming up. The deadline for the National College Match application is September 26th. Those of you that are on the call right now who might be thinking, should I apply using the QuestBridge application? Should I apply using a different application? Hopefully some of what we talk about today can help you make that decision. There's no right or wrong answer. It's ultimately up to you. Know that the QuestBridge application asks a lot of different questions to really delve into who are you, what's important to you, what things do you want the admissions office to know about you as well. And with the QuestBridge National College Match, a student submits the application first to QuestBridge by that September deadline, and then they are able to indicate up to 15 schools from that list of 50 to which they want to match. If a student is named a QuestBridge finalist, that student then has the option to have their QuestBridge application sent to those 15 institutions. The 15 institutions don't know where else a student might be applying. They're just reviewing the application for the student, reviewing the application for admission to their institution. Now know that with the match, there's a ranking process in that I mentioned before, a student gets to rank up to 15 schools. The student sends that list to QuestBridge, and admissions offices get to send lists to QuestBridge of students with whom they want to match. If, let's say, a student on this call decides to rank Yale number 1, and Yale wants to admit that student too, a match can be made right there. Now, let's say a student on this call ranks Yale number 2, which might happen, and another institution number 1, and that other institution wants to admit that student, guess what? That student gets to match with that other institution. It's incredible that a student gets the opportunity to use one application to apply to these 15 different institutions. And these institutions span the United States. They range in scope, they range in size. So I highly encourage you, if you think this might be something in which you're interested, I highly encourage you to explore the options that are there in the QuestBridge match. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to talking more about Yale and what Yale is. And the joke that we make in my office is that Yale is, and one of our colleagues came up with, and then he would say, you know, it's a bit of minimalist poetry, and then he would laugh. But the main thing to know is that right now, as you're thinking about different colleges and universities, you might feel like you're forced to think in terms of ORs. Do I want a research university or a liberal arts college? Do I want a big city or a small college town? Do I want to do art or science? And the thing is, Yaleys typically don't think in terms of or, they are able to think in terms of and. Starting with this concept of a big city and a college town. Hang mentioned that he's from Brooklyn, New York, and New York City, about 2 hours away from New Haven, Connecticut. New Haven is a city of about 130,000 people, about 2 hours from New York City, about 2 hours from Boston, Mass. We're a little closer to New York, in my opinion. Now, the thing is, we are between these two major metropolitan hubs. But what I love about New Haven is that you do get both the big city feel as well as a college feel. You have this big city feel in that you have two Tony Award winning regional theaters. You have a foodie scene like none that many of you have ever seen. It's pretty incredible how many different cuisines you can get, whether at food trucks or restaurants around campus. You have an International Arts and Ideas Festival that happens every year on the New Haven Green. There's just a lot of culture. In fact, there is the second largest collection of free public art in the United States, behind only Washington, D.C., in New Haven, Connecticut. At the same time, it has this smaller college town feel, where Yale is situated close to the main financial and government hub of New Haven. You can walk a few blocks and feel like you're downtown, but once you're walking around campus, it very much feels like you are in the middle of campus. The campus blends into the city blends into the university. And I highly encourage you, if you haven't already, to explore on campus through our virtual tours and some of our other virtual offerings. What I also like about it being kind of that big city, but also small college town feel is you can take either a shuttle or take a 15-minute walk north, and you suddenly get to a place like East Rock Park that has incredible hiking and biking trails and a beautiful view of the Long Island Sound. Now, this idea of a research university and a liberal arts college, Yale is both. Yale University is a research university with scholarship happening across 14 different units. You might be familiar with, say, the Yale School of Medicine, the Yale School of Law. The Yale School of Music is absolutely incredible, along with the School of Drama. These are all amazing academic units. These are all graduate units with the exception of one. Regardless of what major a student decides to pursue, whether it is creative writing, ethics, politics, and economics, molecular, cellular, and developmental biology, ABET accredited mechanical engineering, or undecided, because yes, many of our students are undecided. All of our undergraduates are in one academic unit, Yale College. Yale College is the largest academic unit at Yale. It is the oldest academic unit. We have about 6,600 undergraduates, and they are pursuing over studies in over 80 plus majors, able to choose from over 2,000 courses each and every year. Now, the thing is, the focus at Yale will always be on the undergraduate experience. So you will have faculty members, world renowned, faculty members that have discovered things, that have written the book, that have reworked theories that are out there. And yet, if they're faculty in arts and sciences, they also teach undergrads. In some cases, they even live amongst undergrads. The liberal arts education is an ideal that we want to make sure that our students are getting both depth within whatever program of study they ultimately decide to pursue, as long as academic range, academic breadth. So we want to make sure that even our creative writers are have the opportunity to pursue research in one of our 1,200 labs. We want to make sure that our engineers have the opportunity to take courses with incredible writers like Ann Fadiman. There are options for students to not only take advantage of the resources of being right by medical center, and yes, we have undergraduates doing research over at the Yale School of Medicine, but we also make sure that students can take advantage of the proximities to such incredible faculty. You can see that students are able to pursue arts and sciences and everything in between. In fact, we had a question that I'm going to make sure that we get to that talks about, well, what happens if you have a lot of different interests? Yale can be a great place for that student because a student has until the end of their sophomore year to ultimately declare their major. Some students might end up taking many courses in another area that's not their major, and that is okay. They're able to explore the arts and sciences, whether through just sheer curiosity or by pursuing our distributional requirements, where by the time a student graduates from Yale, they will have 2 classes each in natural sciences, social sciences, arts and humanities, quantitative reasoning, writing, and foreign language. Every one of our 2,000 courses will fulfill one of those distributional requirements. So there's no one way that students go about fulfilling them. You can see from this slide here that with so many faculty, with so many students, we still have this small student to faculty ratio. And most of our courses tend to be on the smaller side. Again, that strong emphasis on the undergraduate living experience. Speaking of living and learning, another aspect about Yale that differentiates us, I think, from many of our peer institutions is our residential college system. Before a student ends up even moving onto campus, they are randomly assigned to one of 14 residential colleges. And in fact, I'm going to ask our panelists later on to tell us which is the best residential college. Because the thing is, typically people say that their own residential college is the best one, and students are randomly assigned to them. I should say purposefully randomly, because we want to make sure that each residential college is a microcosm of the larger Yale student body. So let's say 8% of our incoming students come from New York. I'm just making up this percentage. 8% of our assignments into each residential college will be from New York. If let's say 10% of our incoming students think they're going to be mechanical engineering majors, 10% into each college will be mechanical engineering majors. We look at potential majors, we look at demographics, we look at interests. Let's say there are 14 members of a varsity sport coming in the first year class. Wonderful. We place one each into each residential college. We want these colleges to be as mixed up as possible because you figure you'll end up meeting people with similar academic interests in class. You'll end up meeting people with similar co-curricular interests in clubs. And I'll talk a little bit about our clubs in a moment. But by mixing it up in the residential colleges, you're going to be living alongside and learning from students that maybe your paths wouldn't have crossed otherwise, but very quickly they become like your family. Very quickly they become like your central home base. And you can see from this slide, each residential college is about 400 to 450 students. Students are required to live in the colleges for their first 2 years, but most students live in them all 4 because they have things like their own dining halls, their own libraries, study spaces, workout facilities. It's not too bad just walking out of your suite in your pajamas to go downstairs to get breakfast. Now, thinking about being and belonging, from our student organizations, just about everything you can imagine, to the idea that we have 4 standalone cultural centers, including our Afro-American Cultural Center, which celebrated its 50th anniversary a few years ago, our Asian American Cultural Center, which is one of only about 30 in the country, La Casa Cultural, which is our Latine Cultural Center. They right now are celebrating Latine Heritage Month, and our Native American Cultural Center. And all 4 of these work together, have their own professional staffs to make sure that there are not only activities, but there's a place for home. There's a place that a student can just go and be and create and find community there. The performing arts groups, students are surprised to know that our Yale Symphony Orchestra, most of them are not even music majors, but it's almost a conservatory level orchestra. From 35 varsity sports to myriad service groups, there are so many places for a student to find home, to make community, to build community, and really feel like Yale is their own. Thinking about our undergraduates, you can see that 68 countries are represented. We sometimes get the question, thinking about our Quest Scholars, just how many students in the first year class use the QuestBridge application. Approximately 131 first-year students were named QuestBridge finalists. But keep in mind, our QuestBridge students aren't the only students who might identify as first generation and or low income. You can see that 22% of our incoming class receive Pell Grants. Pell Grants are federal scholarships for students coming from the most significant financial need. And 21% of our incoming students are first generation. Almost 60% of our domestic and permanent resident students in the first year class are students of color. So you can imagine that this is a pretty diverse place to be a student, and you get to meet just so many different students from so many different backgrounds, so many different experiences. It's a pretty special place to be. I would be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit about affordability and aid, regardless of whether you end up using the QuestBridge National College Match to apply to Yale. Know that Yale can be very affordable for students and families, regardless of citizenship, regardless of whether they're in state or out of state. I highly recommend, if you have the opportunity, to go onto our admissions website and look up the quick college cost estimator, where you can literally estimate your cost in 3 minutes. But no, there are a couple of policies that drive our financial aid here at Yale. First of all, Yale is need blind in its admissions, meaning a family's ability or inability to afford Yale will never negatively impact a student's application. We work closely in the admissions office. We work very closely with our friends over at Financial Aid after a student's been admitted to make sure that things are showing up on their financial aid portal, that information is getting back to a student. But we are not factoring in, how much do we think we can afford for this student to come to Yale. Our financial aid office, once a student has been admitted, they're able to use tools like the CSS profile and the FAFSA family tax forms, if they're available, to make sure that we are meeting 100% of a family's needs. So you can see on this chart, on this graphic here, that you have the estimated cost of attendance. As you're going to info sessions, make sure you're not just hearing about how much tuition is. Tuition, that's how much it is to go to class, but how much to sleep there, how much to eat there. So thinking about room and board. What about books and personal expenses? Books and personal expenses, we help estimate for students just so they can keep those in mind, because you want to make sure you're factoring in even things like, well, what about traveling home for holidays and things like that. The financial aid office will use these forms to determine what financial need there is, and we meet 100% of that need with grants. We do not put loans in our financial aid packages. So if this is the cost of attendance and the family can pay here, that's great. If they can pay here, great, we meet 100%. If they can pay all the way over here, you can't see my hand, great, no problem. We meet 100% of that need. And that's how this equation comes out. Estimated cost minus financial aid equals the net cost to students and family. So if you want to learn a little bit more, I highly encourage you to either visit our admissions website, or you can go ahead and take a look at our admissions Instagram accounts at Yale. We'll give you a general overview of happenings around campus. And it's a pretty fun Instagram account to follow. Sometimes you'll see the third Instagram account on that one, Handsome Dan, the 18th, that is our mascot. At Yale Admissions is a really wonderful follow, especially this time of year, because you will see everything from application reminders to essay writing tips to student takeovers. A lot of our students will end up taking our Instagram account and really walking students through what a day in the life of a Yaley looks like. Now, speaking of what a day in the life of a Yaley looks like at this point, I'm going to ask my incredible panelists to come back and join me. Thank you for coming on back. And this is where we're going to start our student life panel. So I'm going to start with a couple of kind of kick-off questions, and then we have a few pre-submitted questions, and then Alfie and Danielle are going to elevate a few for us to answer as well. But let's first start with, you're all Yaleys. You're all Yaleys who are connected to the Quest Scholars Network. Can you each share, and for every question, we won't necessarily have everyone answer, but for this one, I think it would be really helpful. Could you each share how you learned about the QuestBridge program, and maybe how you decided to apply to Yale using the QuestBridge application? So who would like to go first?
I can totally go first.
Great.
Okay. I guess I heard about the Westbridge program my junior year because my AP language teacher, she put my email address to recommend me to apply to the college prep scholars during that spring of junior year. And I remember it was due like very soon in like around April, I suppose. It happened such a long time ago, so I don't remember anymore. But I guess I heard about the Westbridge program from her because she put my contact information down. And from there, I think I just like followed through with like the whole journey. My friend also applied. She got in with me, and then we would just like help each other with applications. My friend and I both matched now to Yale. But she matched to UPenn, so that's different. Um, but hearing about Yale, I think I heard about Yale when I was exploring colleges. I know that I wanted to like stay in the Northeast region, so that just like caught my attention of like how I can like explore my STEM interests along with taking like classes in language and like the liberal arts. So yeah.
Great. Thank you.
I can go next. I actually heard about Questbridge from a friend, and when they first told me about it, I was like, that seems fake. Like, there's no way something like that actually exists.
We get
And after, yeah, after like a lot of researching and after like my school started talking about it a little bit, I was like, okay, so this is legit. Um, and then when I was researching colleges, uh, I'm originally from Texas, and I love Texas. It's an amazing state, but when you live there your whole life, you kind of like want to explore. So I knew I wanted to go to a college pretty far away from home, and you'll match that description. And I think one of the kind of unique ways I learned that Yale was probably the right college for me was I had a really fun time writing my supplements for Yale, which is like sometimes that's a sign that it's a good fit for you.
great. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, Fatima, you go ahead. Sorry, Zoom is always so hard when it comes to timing when you're gonna jump in. So I found out about Questbridge in my junior year of high school, basically just from a singular pamphlet that was in my guidance counselor's office, and it jumped out to me because it was the only one that specified that it was sort of geared towards FGLI students. And I hadn't heard of any other programming or any other resources that were specifically for low income students. So I read about it. I applied to be a college prep scholar. And I was a college prep scholar in 2019. And I had been lucky enough to tour Yale when I was pretty young in 2016. And it was my goal from then on to go. I didn't really know how I was going to do it exactly. It was just, I was like, this is happening. And thankfully, Yale ended up being on the list of Questbridge partners, which kind of made it feel like it was meant to be because I didn't even know that Yale had such comprehensive financial aid until that moment. I started in 2020 here at Yale, and I think I placed Yale first on my match list out of 4 schools, mostly because of the way that the community felt when I was here in person. So I can't recommend that enough. If you get the chance to be here in person, it's really special and you can just feel it like when you're on campus.
Thank you. Fatima, do you want to share too?
Oh yeah, I was just like, is there time for me to go? So, I'm the baby of my family. So I heard about Questbridge from my older sister. She had applied for the national college match and she didn't get in, but I knew about this my junior year in high school, similar to Aqua. And so I applied for the college prep scholars, did not get in, but that did not like deter me from, so like if anyone had applied for the college prep scholars, that like does not influence your chances of like being a match finalist in any way, shape, or form. So yeah, senior year I applied for the final match and yeah, successfully I'm here at Yale. I did rank, so like I know a lot of people only rank like a couple of schools. I ranked about like 7 to 8, just for safety. I was like, if number one doesn't work, number two, three, four, something has to work. And Yale was my number one because I went to, I think it was an information panel like this, similar to this by the undergraduate admissions office. And they had mentioned, one of the admissions officers had mentioned, like, whenever they think of Yale, they just mention like Yale, and then they just leave the and afterwards blank to have people fill in like whatever they want to talk about. And it was just like really wonderful for me to have that opportunity. Like Nicole mentioned, in my supplemental essays, it was really nice to just talk about, okay, what I would see Yale and me being in different ways in different aspects of my life. And yeah, that's one of the reasons why I chose Yale. And I also wanted to like be on the East Coast for snow. So like, yeah.
We're coming back to that snow because a few people have definitely asked the question, if you're not from a cold weather area, how did you adjust to snow? But before we get there, you're all a part of the Quest Scholars Network. Would you mind sharing a little bit about what that is, how you connected to it, and maybe some of the activities that QSN does on campus?
Yeah, I can go first for that one. So I'm currently co-president of the Yale QSN chapter with one of my great friends, Grace. And so yeah, so as a president, I work with the rest of the board and we organize events. Like we even have an event coming up right now, I think like this weekend actually with YFAM. And that's another thing that the chapter does. Like whenever when we see the opportunity, we always do collaborations with other like Figly groups on campus. And we're not the only like first gen low income group or any like financial aid group. We have YFAM. There's the Figly community
What's
initiative.
that group? Sorry, Fatima, to interrupt, but what's that group?
YFAM.
Yep. Just because everyone on the Zoom probably won't know who they are.
Oh, right. So YFAM is essentially it's kind of like QuestBridge, but it's not only limited to QuestBridge matches being a part of the group. Same thing as QuestBridge, like our undergraduate is pretty much our admissions is open to pretty much everyone, but our resources are specifically dedicated to Questies. But for YFAM, it's just a general like, okay, like Figly's on campus, and I think it is part of the Figly Initiative Club. So yeah, we mostly do collaborations with them, and it's just another like fun, welcoming space for first gen low income students to just feel comfortable, talk about their identity in welcoming spaces. And yeah, we do a lot of collaborations with them. And Nicole, our events co-chair with Hang, they're gonna be talking about like, I'll actually just leave them to talk about like more events that QSN will be planning throughout the semester.
Yeah, me and Hang actually met up not too long ago to kind of plan a calendar of events that we're really excited to implement this year. A few of them, to give you an example, one of them is we're gonna meet up to hike this thing called East Rock, which is a really fun hike. Even if you're unathletic like me, it's a really fun time, especially when the leaves turn a gorgeous color. It's just beautiful and just fun social events for questies to get a chance to, you know, decompress and also get to meet some of the other questies on campus.
Just to chime in, because I'm also a co-event chair with Nicole. I just found like this Questbridge network. I've attended a few events in the past year when I was a first year because I really like knew no one when I came to Yale, and it was like really I was a very shy person, very introverted. But like being able to like go to these events and like talk to first years who are also like questies, who are also like first gen low income because like they can relate to your stories, that just like helped me to like relate to them, talk to them, and like some of my friends, even my suite mates who are also part of Questbridge, we were able to like just have a good time, just like meeting each other, grabbing a meal here and there. So like that's pretty nice. So yeah.
Now you're all part of the Quest Scholars Network, but I mean, we talked about 400 plus student organizations. Yaleys are involved. So could you all speak to what else you do outside of the classroom and or what you like doing around New Haven?
Sure, I can go first for this one. I have three different jobs at Yale in addition to being the social media manager for the Questbridge Scholars Network. I'm a social media assistant for the Yale Alumni Association and for Yale Summer Session. So I do a lot of social media marketing, and I really like graphic design and making content, especially videos. So that's been really fun. And I also work at the Beinecke Rare Book and Manuscript Library as a scanner, and I get to scan any document that anyone requests from the library. So I've run across like handwritten letters from Jane Austen, and I get to like hold it in my hands. It's just really amazing. And that job was not something that I planned on doing, but I kind of happened upon it this summer, and it's been really fun. So I'm going to continue for the rest of my time here, hopefully. And aside from QuestBridge, the other main chunk of my time when it comes to extracurriculars is working with the trans community at Yale. I'm on the board for Trans at Yale. I'm the secretary. It's a brand new club. It's only been around for 2 years, but it's really special to me. And we're going to be having a couple of events coming up on Parents Weekend, which is really exciting. And I also go to the weekly trans and non-binary gathering at our Office of LGBTQ Resources called Beyond the Binary.
That's great. And it's great to hear there are going to be more events at Parents Weekend, Family Weekend this year. That's exciting.
I don't know if I can follow after Aqua just listed all those amazing things. Like, oh my gosh, my life must seem plain. But other than QuestBridge, I am part of YCS. I am the Vice Outreach Liaison, and essentially YCS is Yale Computer Society. So it's kind of just like a hub of like software engineers where we build programs. You will, if you get into Yale and if you choose Yale, you would get familiar with these projects such as Course Table, Yale's IO, and these are essentially different websites and platforms that Yale students use for information access that YCS builds. And I'm on the outreach team. I'm responsible for recruiting Yale students who are interested in software design, and also talking to companies outside of Yale, like Bloomberg, Jane Street, to have them come over, have recruiting events, which kind of serves as a pipeline for students getting internships over the summer and all that stuff. And sorry, my friend just like gave me a weird look. And I'm also part of Zana, which is Yale's Afrobeats dance team, and it's a really, really fun space to be in. We recently got our new taps for this year, so I'm excited. Tomorrow's gonna be tap night, so we have like this special ceremony where we like take them from cross campus all over, pick up different people, and just like give them cookies and all that stuff. So that's fun. And then I'm also president of She Code, which is essentially an after school program that teaches New Haven middle school and high school students how to code simple programs like in Python and Scratch. And yeah, so those are basically the different ways I'm involved in the Yale community outside of the QSN chapter. Yeah.
I can go next. Two of my biggest commitments this semester and started last semester in the spring. So there's something called Bulldogs Racing. That's engineering related, and that's where you like get involved with building a car, which is really cool. I heard like last year they sent it to a competition. Another extracurricular that's also engineering related. Just the Yale Undergraduate Aerospace Association, so it's called YUAA. There's different teams in that organization, and the one I've been involved in is Project Liquid, where you're involved with like building a rocket. So then it's just like all things that you use. You don't learn it in the classroom, but you actually learn it while building such like car or like the rocket. So it's really fun. Lately, my friends and I have been planning to create this so there's various cultural organizations here at Yale. One thing is called CASA, Chinese American Student Association for Chinese Americans here at Yale. But then my friends have been planning to create something called the Fujianese Americans at Yale, because there's a lot of dialects in Chinese, and Fujianese is just one of the many. So yeah.
That's fantastic. And just putting in a plug, we said 400 plus student organizations, 500. It's not that difficult for students to create a new student organization. You see a need, you see an opportunity for, hey, we want to bring this group together, and you're able to do that here at Yale. Nicole, what do you like to do?
Oh, okay. I guess I'll touch on one of like the more unexpected things that I got involved with here. So kind of on a whim, I signed up for this thing called 24-hour film fest, which is kind of what it sounds like. We had to make a film in 24 hours. And prior to coming to Yale, I had never touched a professional camera, but I've always been like loosely interested in film and film production. Um, and after that experience, it made me realize like how fun filmmaking is and just the how the overall film community at Yale is just so wholesome. And Yale has a lot of resources for film, including study abroad. And over the summer, I actually got to go to Prague, which was my first time traveling abroad. And it was an amazing experience. I met a lot of amazing people, and I'm at the point where I'm even like considering majoring in film now. So Yale is also just like a great place to cultivate and find new interests as well, because we have a lot of resources for that.
That's incredible. And you can see the range of interests and the range of experiences that students have had on campus. So, thinking about this is an academic institution, of course, can you talk a little bit maybe about a favorite class or an interaction with a professor that stands out in your mind as like, this is Yale. This is just what makes this place special.
I can share. Oh, Aqua, go ahead.
Sorry, I should probably start raising my hand so y'all know when I'm about to unmute. But yeah, I am actually taking an independent project this semester, which is like just me and a professor working on something that I want to work on. I make my own syllabus, and I chose this professor because I've taken 4 classes with him previously in the last 3 years. And he is a sculptor from New York, and he commutes every day when he's teaching from his studio in New York to New Haven. And I I love his artwork. Like, I'm a huge admirer of his practice. And then also he's super animated and fun. And I have consistently signed up for his classes. Even when I have the credit fulfilled for certain requirements, I still want to go because it's just a really fun time. So this semester we're going to be working one-on-one, and I'm just doing a big sculpture and I get a credit for that. So it's really exciting that I get to do that.
And remind everyone what your major is again, Aqua.
I'm an art major in the painting concentration, even though I dabble more so in sculpture lately.
That's awesome. Great. Thanks. And Nicole, yeah,
Oh,
go
sorry.
for it.
Yeah, so I'm a sophomore right now. So last year I took a first year seminar, which is essentially a small class, like usually 15 to 18 people, and it's reserved like just for first years. Um, And this class was taught by a professor who's like this renowned journalist. He's now retired. And a lot of the content we would analyze would be like news reports where he was like the lead reporter. And it was just kind of meta because would be like sitting in class watching him like 20 years ago on NBC reporting on, like the breaking HIV cases. And then just to have like someone renowned like that and be able to access them during office hours and just have them tell you like if you need any help, if you need like anything in terms of like internships or anything like that, just having kind of that access was just mind blowing, especially like as a first year.
Wow. Thank you. So a couple of pre-submitted questions. Darian asked, and there were a couple of variations of this question, but Darian asked, how has Yale helped you succeed on campus in terms of university support and access to identity-based organizations, if you've been involved in any?
I can start first. So I came to Yale trying to major in environmental engineering. And then from that I learned that just STEM in general as an undergraduate is very hard. So then the off that resources that Yale offers, so each class they offer like peer tutors, or they also call them undergraduate learning assistants. So they also like each course will like depending on their schedules, each person's schedule, they would host office hours that's very important for STEM majors, and I guess for any other major too, going to such office hours. And there's something, the Center of Teaching and Learning, they also host a lot of um writing tutors that, especially I heard like how if you have a writing paper that will be due in a certain amount of time, you can like submit a draft and have that edited before you submit that to um your course assignment. I've taken advantage of a lot of the tutoring sessions that they have offered, especially for physics, which was kind of like a trek first year because I faced a lot of obstacles. But yeah.
Thank you.
I'll just say that what Hang mentioned, like Yale does offer like a lot of resources for learning, coming from like the writing partners, which you can sign up for to have like one specifically assigned to you, and you can like decide on your meeting times throughout the semester. So it's not like, oh, you're like rushing to a space and there's like one like tutor and there's like 15 people in line. No, you can have one specifically assigned to you. On that note, you can also have a librarian assigned to you, because textbooks, knowing where to get them and not purchasing them is really clutch. So Yale Library, you can check out a textbook for the whole semester, or like some seniors have folders that they share when you get on campus with like, okay, this is classes that I've taken so far for course A, B, C, and all of that stuff. And I would say for me, just being a CS major, I would recommend office hours, like heavy on office hours, like go to office hours, ask your questions, ask your silliest questions, because sometimes it's really hard to feel comfortable, be like, okay, I need to ask this question, but I feel really dumb. Like, don't even think of that. Like, the TAs themselves are literally, they've been in that position before. They're there to help you. And honestly, sometimes asking your silly question is probably another question that someone had that they didn't want to answer. I've had a lot of people, we call ourselves like the trauma bonding group in CS, and I've made some lifelong friendships from just like being the people at office hours who struggle and we don't get what's happening. So don't be like shy to find your people at office hours, and always like meet up with them afterwards. Not just like, okay, these are only my PSET people. No, like explore relationship with them outside of academia. And yeah, I would say like resources that in that end has been really helpful for me as a CS major.
I also think of some of the financial resources too, right? You have academic support too, but the financial resources, Nicole talked about going abroad the summer after her first year, right? There is the Summer Experience Award, which is a separate pot of money, separate from a student's financial aid package for the school year, that can help fund a student's study abroad, research abroad, service abroad. We want students to be able to take advantage of the opportunities here. There's even summer funding available for, let's say, a student might have an underpaid or unpaid internship, and it might be in a city where you don't have family. Thinking about, well, how can I afford to live here? Yale can help fund that as well. I think of something like safety net also, where unfortunately there might be an unexpected expense that comes up during the year, whether that's something like, holy cow, my winter coat ripped, or you know what, I have a family emergency and I need to get home pretty quickly. And if you're flying, those flights are not inexpensive last minute. So safety net is another pot of money that's set aside for students to apply for that emergency grant funding. And again, it's grant funding. So there are just a lot of financial resources. Fatima.
Yeah, I was just gonna say with safety net, like these glasses frames are a courtesy of safety net, because like with Yale health insurance, you can get like the eye exam for free, but the prescriptions do not come with it. So like this was really expensive. I got it from Warby Parker. So after that, I just submitted like a request for funding to through Yale Safety Net, and that was how I was able to take my prescription to Warby Parker and get the frame. So it's not just like, oh, like family emergencies, even medical emergencies. If there's like some sort of like ridiculous copay that you can't afford, Yale Safety Net is pretty much something. And also some classes, Aqua might know this, and he was the one who put me onto this, because some of my classes for architecture, I had to buy like a ridiculous amount of like sketchbooks, like pencils. Like there's different types of pencils. There's like, I don't know, some are soft, some are not so soft, but there was like so much stuff that I had to buy. But that's some stuff that's like expenses you can submit to safety net to get reimbursed. And also some classes do offer like reimbursement stipends throughout the semester, because for my skills of design class I had $200 like just like put aside for me, like for every single student. And whenever we did like projects, we will build like little models, and those would get expensive really fast, so you just submit your reimbursement receipts and you would get that funding back. And also halls, like if anyone ends up being an art major or like anything related to like the creativity world, definitely go to halls, get a student ID so you can always get your discounts in. Yeah, I'm gonna let you go on. Sorry.
Nope, get those discounts around campus. Get those discounts. One more pre-submitted question, and then we'll do maybe some rapid fire ones from Q&A because time flies when you're having fun. So Andrew asked, and a couple of people on this call I think can answer this. If you're admitted, but you live far away from campus, how do you move to Yale? How did you get to Yale? Maybe talk a little bit about the transition if your family isn't so close.
I can touch on this. I actually moved in by myself, and it was something that I was like really nervous about, especially like coming all the way from Texas. And I will say there are people on campus like helping you move in. We have a system called FROCOs, and those are like first year counselors, and there's like an entire moving team helping you move in. And beyond the logistical standpoint, like it was kind of it's difficult to figure out like what you need to pack and everything. But I think with careful planning and recognizing that you don't have to bring your entire life with you over here, like you can get things here and you don't have to necessarily bring them from home. It's doable. I will say it is doable. So don't stress too much.
And maybe I'll throw in another piece of that question. If you're from a not cold weather climate, like what was the adjustment like? Because that question's come up a couple of times. What's winter like for those of you newer to it?
Oh my goodness. So my very first snow experience was at Yale, because I'm from South Florida. I grew up in a beach town. It was basically summer all year round. And I love the Northeast. I intentionally came to the Northeast because I wanted seasons and I wanted like autumn. It's my favorite season ever. But I did not know that snow or ice, more specifically, can be slippery and that you need shoes with good tread. So I definitely had to make that investment because my normal, like regular boots I had been wearing every day were not going to cut it once it was like January. So I actually, through safety net, was able to get LL Bean boots that were like made for the snow, and they had like really nice lining, and they're really well made. So I still have them, and I'll probably have them for a really long time. But other than just being prepped for it and having the proper clothing, it's really beautiful, and it is so stunning to see cross campus covered in snow.
I was kind of bummed this past year because we didn't even have that much snow. We had the one snowfall. There was a big sculpture on cross campus, and then it melted pretty quickly. So some questions from Q&A. Pranjal asked, what is something about Yale that you didn't know about and it surprised you until you actually started here? So something unexpected.
I can think of one. So like I guess before coming to Yale, like I would hear like basically horror stories of like, oh my gosh, like you're coming to an Ivy League, so people tend to be elitist and all that stuff. Actually, like, well, from my experience, and everyone else on the panel can like attest to that, but I have not experienced anything of that form. Like people don't go around throwing it in your face like, oh, my dad has like 3 yachts. No, like no one does that. And it's really just a nice space. Like obviously like people would know, okay, this is my fellow Figley and all that stuff just from like seeing your like community events. But like I don't think like don't ever think of like your socioeconomic status is like a barrier preventing you from like being your true self, or like like mingling with like other people from like different backgrounds. Like it's never like a preventive like barrier for you to be like, okay, I can't be friends with this specific person because they won't understand who I am. They can understand my history and all that stuff. I would say like making friends and just like, I guess, having a fun time and associating with people like-minded individuals at Yale has been pretty easy. And there's also Yale does a really great job at like doing pre-orientation programs and also just like summer programs, because I did first year scholars at Yale, which essentially was it was a summer program where I met like a bunch of my friends, even the co-president right now for Questbridge, Grace. I met her through FSY, and Yale does a really great job of connecting people before you even get on campus. So it's like you're not walking into this place like being like, oh my gosh, I don't know anyone. Like, no, you have at least someone you've connected with over summer or prior to the semester starting. So I would say like it's pretty much easy, like having your own small circle of friends. And it doesn't have to be like, oh my gosh, like I'm super popular, da 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 da. No, that's completely irrelevant. It's just like having your small knit community, and that could come from like individuals who are figly, non-figly, like from different backgrounds. And you should not limit yourself to like who you interact with. Yeah.
And just making sure for all of you on the call, some of you might be familiar with the term figly, some may not be. FGLI, first generation low income. So just it's a term that you might hear not just on webinars with QuestBridge, but throughout your explorations of college. So a couple of more questions. A couple of people have asked, what's dorm life like? Or I should say, what's residential college life like? Maybe I'll throw in there if you want to share a little bit about your residential college and maybe tell people which residential college is the best one on campus. What are your thoughts?
I'll go first. So Fatima and I are both in Jonathan Edwards. So once you come into Yale as a first year, you live on Old Campus, unless you are in one of four colleges, which are TD, Silliman, Benjamin Franklin, and Pauli Murray. But for the others, you live in Old Campus because Yale wants you to like meet with other first years in like close proximity. And dorm life is like really good. I had like amazing suite mates. They were like one of my first friends. We were in the beginning, we would be like walking together in packs to like go to dinner together, to go to breakfast together and on the weekends. But then that's just like it just created like a homey vibe, like family vibes for me. And then after that, right now I'm a second year as a sophomore. So we're living in our um residential colleges. So we're like going home, if you say it like that. So like now we're like living with other students start in our same residential college. JE, I think it's really good. So yeah.
I think it's a little unfair because I think there's 3 JE students here right now, but I will say it is the best.
I will speak for Pauli Murray. So yeah, it's one of the newer colleges. So unlike, I guess, Hank, Fatima, and Aqua, I lived in my residential college my first year. So that was kind of a different experience in that I was kind of separated from the first years, but I also got to be closer to upperclassmen. And I think different from high school where there's kind of like a weird rift between like other grades. Like you kind of just hang out with your grade and it's weird to talk to older kids. I feel like there's a lot more intermingling between classes here. So I think that was like something unexpected for me.
I am affiliated with Ezra Stiles College, and I will say that they are all wonderful residential colleges. Again, students are randomly assigned to one of the 14. I will say, though, the Stiles and Morse Dining Hall might be the best one on campus. I'm just saying it. I'm just throwing it out there. Just saying it. Speaking of, some students would like to know what's food like on campus? What's dining like for students?
I think it's amazing. And I also had dietary needs that needed to be met in a very specific way. And I had an accommodation, and the dining hall staff at JE, they're just so amazing. They would make me my food for me and package it up so that I could take it each day, and it needed to be prepared a certain way, and they did it without a problem. And then for the food that's just being made every day, there's a different entree or multiple entrees every single day. And Oh my goodness, it's so good. I can't even express, like, compared to other schools that I visited, I'll just say Yale has some of the best food I've ever tasted in like a college dining hall. And also New Haven, like the pizza here. That's all I'll say. Just like if you know, you know.
I'll say, oh, sorry. I'll say, no, Aqua, like, yeah, those are some good points. I will say though, coming from California and like low-key visiting UCLA campus a couple of times and just like being introduced to that cuisine, I will say Yale dining was kind of low-key lacking for me, but it's okay. That's why they got the salt and pepper shakers on the table. You can always do a little shaky shaky and the world's a better place. But I would say they've been trying this year because for freshman year and sophomore year, it was basically like the same menu. Well, not like the same thing every single day, but like repeated kind of like occasionally. But now they're trying different stuff because the other day they had like kimchi fried rice, they have this roasted duck, and I think they're incorporating new stuff into the menu, and they even have this option now where people kind of like drop their suggestions into like a little box in the dining hall. You can walk in and drop a suggestion like for meals that they could add. So yeah, I'll say like I feel like for Yale dining, I don't think I'll ever go hungry and like not eat, but sometimes I'm just like I'm just eating for sustenance. I'm not really eating for like taste or anything. But like there's so many restaurants all around New Haven that literally make me go broke every semester. Different cuisines, like anything you're looking for. And yeah, like honestly, take the time sometimes. Like I know like Yale dining is there for you and they provide everything, but sometimes take the time to just like I don't know, go to Zaroka or go to Bonchon or go to like BB.Q. Like try out different restaurants all around. And they are sure not to disappoint, especially the New Haven pizza. It's not called the pizza capital for nothing. There is definitely heavy truth to that.
I'm just going to throw it out there. Some of my colleagues and I sometimes get a kick out of when people say like Yale dining's not all that Yale dining's okay because I sit there and think, wait until you graduate. Where else do you go that you walk into a dining hall? There are four different kinds of brick oven pizza available to you. But do you want a burger made to order, or do you want stir fry made to order, or do you want salad bars? Do you want like different dietary restrictions? It's amazing. I took it for granted when I was in college and had all these options. And then you graduate and you don't have all those options at the swipe of a card. So time flies when you're having fun. I keep saying that. If I could ask my panelists to maybe give one quick piece of advice to students on this call right now who might be thinking about if they should consider applying to Questbridge for the National College Match, and if they're thinking about applying to Yale. Kind of rapid fire parting words of wisdom.
I can say my parting words first. Yale is still one of my favorite places that I've been to ever, and I've made it my permanent home for a reason. I'm never leaving New Haven. Like I may have grown up in Florida and I'm originally from Maryland, but like New Haven is now where I'm putting down roots, and the community here is really special. It's become my family. And even just having like gender affirming healthcare here for free, like top surgery for free, has saved my life. And even though there's been like really difficult stuff and it has been really hard sometimes, like that is invaluable. And I'll always be grateful that I was able to get that done so quickly and for free.
For me, I've met like so many amazing friends that I would have never met if I were like to go to any other college. So that was like really nice to like just be here at Yale. But then just like one piece of advice is like for the Questbridge match, just make sure like there's a possibility of you being matched, and you need to be aware that if you're matched, it's like it's binding. So just like be prepared like for the possibility that if you're matched, you're like going to attend this college. And especially at this time, I know it's very like stressful about like thinking about colleges. Just have the mindset like things will definitely work out. Things will work out in the future. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think to kind of echo what Hang was saying, that things work out. I'll admit that Yale was not one of the top colleges I ranked, but after spending a year here, I can't imagine myself at any other college. So things do work out, and if you're feeling stressed, just try to keep what you want most in the college in mind and try not to compromise that. And at the end of the day, like things will happen for a reason and you'll end up at the right college for you.
Yeah, and for my advice, I would just say I just feel like this is a thing that you learn growing up. Like you're never truly satisfied anywhere, but I feel like Yale has been one of the places that checks off most of my boxes. So I can't imagine myself being anywhere else. It's really been a wonderful space for me. And there's been several transitions in my life, like major wise, that have happened. And Yale has always been accommodating. I've always had someone to talk to, especially my residential college dean, Dean Ferrando. She's always been an amazing resource. And I feel like I don't see myself like the growth stage that I'm at right now. I don't see myself like growing that way in any other place. And like I said before, like Yale has allowed me to discover much more who I was than before I came to Yale, like who I am now, who I'll be in the future. And it's definitely providing resources for me to continue exploring my journey. Yeah, and it's, you know, with every place there's like pros and cons, but I would say like the pros definitely outweigh the cons. But yeah, definitely keep like the college process. I know like applying must be really tedious, like exhausting. Like you probably like send out like 2 applications almost every day, but like definitely know that whatever college you end up with, like it's gonna be the right place for you. And sometimes like it's not necessarily the place that's right for you. It's a place that you put an effort into making like the one that's right for you. So I would say like any place can be your home, but like definitely we're always looking forward to having you in our home, which is Yale in the QSN chapter. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Aqua, Fatima, Hank, and Nicole for being here and sharing a little bit about your experiences with our guests. And thank you to all of you, especially as we run a little bit over, but thank you for spending some time with us. Note that there are a couple of helpful links in the chat. Feel free to continue to explore, whether it's through additional virtual sessions, virtual tours. If you haven't explored the Inside the Yale Admissions Office podcast, we've heard that's a really good resource for students and families as they are navigating the admissions process. For those of you who end up applying to QuestBridge for the National College Match, good luck with your QuestBridge application. Know that we're going to have another session, a virtual session on October 1st that focuses a lot more on QuestBridge, asking questions like, you know, how does it differ, the QuestBridge match versus applying to Yale early action? How many students were matched with Yale? 66 students matched with Yale last year, a little lower than expected, but then we ended up with 131 in the class, all told. So feel free to join us on October 1st. Keep an eye on your email for that, and then we'll also send out this recording in the coming days. So we wish you all the best. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and once again, thanks for joining us. Good night, everyone. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.